The Skutazi starship descended through the thinning clouds, its bronze hull glinting faintly against Earth's soft blue sky. Commander Dubita stood at the edge of the hatch, her posture flawless, green hair cascading like molten emerald over her shoulders. 30 pink lights had honed her mind and body into a weapon of precision. Yet tonight, she felt a quiet awe, an unfamiliar stirring in her chest as the planet stretched below, serene and alive. The humans noticed first. From the edges of the forest and scattered farmhouses, they watched with a mixture of fascination, fear, and disbelief. A being of bronze skin, eyes golden and cat-like, standing taller than any human woman, accompanied by other warriors like her, slender, strong, poised. Some whispered prayers, some whispered questions. Children dared to peek through windows, eyes wide, their curiosity outweighing their fear. Adults lingered at a distance, unsure whether to flee or approach. It was an observation that made Dubita's heightened senses tingle. These humans were cautious but drawn towards them, sensing both power and difference. She gave no signal, no unnecessary display. Command was quiet, subtle, and absolute. "Observe. Do not interfere," she instructed softly, though her words carried weight that made her sister's spine straighten. Each step on Earth's soil felt miraculous, the air soft and sweet, filling her lungs effortlessly, a gift she never took for granted. The desert air of Skutazi had always been abrasive, filtered, harsh. Here, she could breathe freely. Every inhale carried life, and with it, a strange warmth she could not name. The first days were spent on Troy's farm. Humans here were not like those of the distant cities she had briefly scanned from orbit. They moved with an ease that was entirely alien, unarmed, unarmored, and yet thriving. Troy himself approached cautiously at first, observing the strangers in his fields. But Dubita, with her commanding presence and quiet authority, gained his trust quickly. She learned the rhythm of farm work with an intensity that impressed even the seasoned human farmer. She fed the sheep with care, her hands delicate despite her strength. She helped milk them, then worked alongside Nineveh to craft the cheeses the humans prized so highly. The smells, textures, and flavors fascinated her. Soft cream, earthy scents, golden butter. For a being raised to measure life in terms of survival and duty, these were luxuries she had never allowed herself to experience. She savored each taste, lingering on every bite, as though it were a revelation. Her sisters, too, adapted to this slower rhythm, though with caution. Skutazi instincts never fully rested. Every shadow, every unfamiliar sound was catalogued, assessed, measured. Humans, however, moved freely, laughed, and argued with a casualness that unsettled them. Dubita observed, noting patterns, predicting behaviors. Here was a species unprepared for war, yet astonishingly resilient. She saw potential, some for companionship, some for the broader mission, and mentally logged each observation with precision. Even in this relative calm, the mission remained. She could not forget it. Assess, understand, and determine compatibility. Dubita's golden eyes, always scanning, always calculating, catalogued everything. The scent of the earth, the softness of the grass under her boots, the warmth in Troy's careful gestures towards his son James. Each observation would inform decisions later in ways that could decide the fate of her species. And so, under alien stars, with its unfamiliar moonlight painting shadows across the fields, Dubita embraced a rhythm entirely new. Work, observation, small joys, and the careful study of a species both fragile and magnificent. The Skutazi commander was far from finished, yet for the first time, she understood a truth her desert home could never offer. There was more to survival than strength. There was life to savor, and she intended to understand it fully.
The city was alive, in a way the fields of Troy's farm had never been. Neon signs flickered against the evening haze, engines roared through the streets, and a faint smell of gasoline and asphalt drifted through the air. Dubita moved carefully among humans, her senses absorbing everything. The rhythm of their movement, the scents, the cadence of their conversations. She had grown comfortable with Troy and Nineveh, with the rhythm of farm life, but here she felt the pulse of the planet itself. This was energy, alive, unpredictable, unlike the measured calm of the fields or the harsh deserts of Skutazi. Her feet carried her down a quiet side street, where a small mechanic shop glimmered in the dim light. The smell of oil, metal, and worn leather spilled onto the sidewalk. Dubita paused, nostrils flaring in appreciation. This place was potential. Machines bent and shaped by human hands, imperfect but full of possibility, ripe for her precision, her strength, her knowledge. She entered. Inside, Mr. Spencer looked up from the engine he was repairing. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of her. Bronze skin, gold cat-like eyes, emerald hair cascading past her shoulders. But he composed himself quickly. "Can I help you?" Dubita answered calmly, her voice carrying command as effortlessly as breath. "I wish to learn. Teach me how to handle these machines as you do." And from that moment, she became indispensable. Working tirelessly, hours turning into days, days into weeks. Her hands, trained for war and delicate precision, adapted seamlessly to engines and gears. She moved like a conductor, tools, oil, and metal responding to her command. Mr. Spencer watched with awe. He had never seen anyone so focused, so brilliant, so unyielding. Evenings became moments of reflection. Dubita studied humans, their laughter, their trivial arguments, and their strange ability to bond so easily. On Skutazi, life was duty. Here, humans lived as though every day was a discovery. Then, Calvin arrived. A sleek, rare sports car rolled into the shop, its paint gleaming sharply under the lights. Calvin stepped out, tall, confident, impeccably dressed, eyes sharp and calculating. His gaze froze on Dubita. She stood beside the car, bronze skin, gold cat-like eyes, emerald hair catching the light, her hands moving with precision over the engine. There was power in her presence, not loud, not aggressive, but undeniable. Her hiu shera in tai ferivith. I heard you're exceptional. She only glanced at him, neutral, measured, silent. His confidence faltered, a rare thing for a man like him. Over the coming weeks he returned, not with demands or arrogance, but curiosity, respect, patience. One afternoon, a bouquet of flowers appeared outside the shop, the petals delicate, radiant. Dubita sensed the intention behind the gesture: admiration, restraint, interest. It was foreign, intoxicating, confusing. A male who desired without force, a male who respected without demanding. She studied him, slowly, cautiously. And for the first time, she wondered, was this another kind of strength? A gentler one. One afternoon, her visit to Nenevena's farm ended abruptly. Government agents surrounded them, armed, trained, cautious. Dubita's senses flared. Her sisters prepared to strike, but one subtle gesture from her, and they held their ground. They were taken to a laboratory. Sterile white rooms, humming machines, glowing screens. Days blurred together as humans scanned their physiology and energy. Dubita observed everything, every weakness, every limitation, every assumption the humans made. A week passed before they were released. As the ship prepared to depart Earth's soil, Dubita gathered her sisters. You are no longer bound by the chains of our past. You are free. Choose your path, your life, your own world. And if you follow me, we will walk it together, unafraid and unshackled. Her words rippled through them, liberation for the first time in their existence. Calvin waited in silence, watching her, patient, hopeful. And Dubita realized that Earth, the farm, the shop, the city, had become more than a mission. They had become foundations, choices, a life she could shape, and a future she could claim.
Back to Skutazi. The desert planet loomed in memory, its endless pink sun glare, scorching winds carving the bronze skin of its warriors, and the ceaseless rigor of its people. On Skutazi, life was survival. Every breath, every action, every thought was measured against duty, against expectation, against the unyielding demand that only the strongest, the sharpest, the fiercest would carry their species forward. Dubita had been raised in this crucible. Her mother, a revered commander, had shaped her childhood with lessons forged through fire, strategy, control, ruthlessness. She remembered endless drills in scorching sand, relentless endurance tests, psychic training that stretched her mind to the breaking point. On Skutazi, every failure brought punishment. Every success carried heavier responsibility. Love, choice, hesitation, those were luxuries their world did not permit. As commander of her starship, Dubita bore more than authority. She bore the weight of her sisters' lives, the future of her species. Every decision, every step on Earth, every interaction with humans was carefully measured. Her heightened senses read human emotions: fear, curiosity, desire, hope. Her psychic link monitored her sisters' doubts, their readiness, their longing for something they could not name. Yet the harshness of Skutazi never faded from her mind. Nights of training under the blazing sun, muscles pushed to trembling, air so thin and hot it scorched the lungs, a culture where obedience was survival and disobedience had consequences humans could never imagine, a world where the strong claimed the weak without hesitation, where choice was a myth. After Earth's laboratory ordeal, after the weeks of sterile tests and human caution, Dubita understood something profound. Her sisters deserved freedom. As the Skutazi ship lifted from Troy's farm, its soft hum filling the night, Dubita gathered her warriors in the main hold. Earth light filtered through the bronze hull, painting golden reflections across their faces, faces tense with fear, hope, and uncertainty. You have lived your lives bound by duty, by expectation, by the chains of our heritage. You have trained to serve, to obey, to survive, but none of you have ever truly chosen. Her voice resonated through the hold, firm and emotional. Today that ends. Today you are free. Free to live, to love, to decide. The bonds of Skutazi do not dictate your hearts. The chains of our past are broken. A silence followed, a silence heavy with revelation. Some sisters trembled with tears. Others stood frozen, overwhelmed by the enormity of choice. The psychic tether binding them to Skutazi, to the council, to tradition, to command, pulsed faintly. And then, with Dubita's focused will, it snapped. For the first time in their lives, they were truly free. Dubita felt the shift like a wave passing through her mind. The weight she had worn like armor all her life loosened. She met each sister's gaze, noting the awakening happening within them. Raw emotion, curiosity, fear, courage. This moment, this liberation, was the culmination of everything she had fought for, silently, for years. Her thoughts drifted back to Earth, to Calvin, patient, gentle, unthreatening, a man who desired without domination, who waited without pressure, who taught her that affection could exist without fear. To Troy and Nineveh, the first humans to show the Skutazi's simple warmth, acceptance, safety. Earth had shown her a truth Skutazi never had, that survival and freedom could coexist, that power did not have to crush choice, that strength could protect rather than control. Her decision crystallized. Earth would be her home, not Skutazi, not anymore. As the ship drifted through Earth's upper atmosphere, Dubita felt an unfamiliar peace settle over her. She, a commander, a warrior, a strategist forged in desert fire, had crossed galaxies not just to complete a mission, but to discover life, freedom, love. She had freed her sisters. She had learned human emotions. She had tasted joy and connection, and she had discovered that power without choice was hollow. Below, the city lights shimmered like constellations scattered across the dark. Neon colors glinted off her bronze skin and green hair as she gazed down, inhaling Earth's soft oxygen-rich air. Her sisters whispered behind her, gratitude, excitement, wonder for the lives now open to them. And somewhere down there, Calvin waited, patient, steady, a quiet beacon pulling her toward a different life. Dubita, commander, warrior, mechanic, liberator, allowed herself a rare, soft smile. She had crossed from duty to freedom, from survival to life, from power to to love. And under alien stars and Earth's familiar sky, she finally understood the greatest truth. To truly lead, to truly live, one must have the courage to choose.